What I have been subjected to a potential threat beyond the exterior realms of, well, not just me, but this girl, for instance, who I grew up with for, let's say, 7 years, as an example. If we were to make an exchange of trust of any sort, in regards, like, to a request of her to wear a pair of her stinky lingerie or something, and not be afraid of her traveling from point A to point B. Let's say her destination would be my place, and without someone intercepting our phone call and then possibly kidnapping her, that would not happen to that level of, like, fear would not even exist for someone who is, let's say, a minor, let's say under the age of 18, where she's 36 going on to 37, and I'm 36 years old, and next August I'll be 37. It's like adults, I came to the realization, if it was a minors don't, when you're under the age of 18, they don't have to worry at all about this type of fear. Whereas, let's say, otherwise, it's a, in the case of the feeling to need to wear deodorant, they don't realize that could be a deterrent, or not perceived as attractive to, let's say, the way the guy would perceive a female if she were to wear deodorant, vice versa. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it's more of like a materialistic thing that is not understood completely beyond the age of 18, where when you're beyond the age of 18, it's more clearly understood that there are times when people, yeah, if you're out in public, you wear cologne sometimes, or you take a shower beforehand. But if you're not going anywhere, and let's say you're used to hanging out with this person, and let's say you've already, smelled them without deodorant, and you're okay with that, and you don't want them to have to waste time taking a shower ahead of time. You see what I'm saying? It's like you expect them to be able to safely travel from their place to your place without that the fear of them being, taken somewhere because of someone else's judgment of that being a problem. See what I'm saying? Where obviously those who are under, let's say, if when I was 17 years old, if that would be very creepy for an adult to, try to do something to, let's say, a female who was wearing a pair of stinky leg warmers or something for her boyfriend. That's creepy. You see what I'm saying? That's really scary, and it's people who are adults have the shouldn't have to they should have just as much freedom, basically, and that level of judgment. See what I'm saying? Because if a guy is okaying a female beyond the scope of the concern of how, deliberately, stinking a little bit for him, or not having to spend the time to take, the guy saying, don't waste your time taking a shower because I'm okay with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that shows that they like and they're accepting that girl beyond the surface level of, just the way she may look. You see what I'm saying? That's like, how some girls would be like, oh, that guy only likes that girl because she's got big boobs or something like that. That materialistic type of, the the filter is better if it's like, there's a reduction in other materialistic things. You see what I'm saying? And then I'm showing the level of creepiness of the exterior versus something that is like, hey, don't worry about taking a shower, just come right over. And then now you got this like huge level of, you have to have this huge level of overhead of like, and it could actually happen. There are people who I I don't know if this has, like, I'm pretty sure it's happened, where someone else's judgment out there would be like, let's say she got pulled over, right? And let's say um, let's say she was wearing, you know, sweaty gym socks or something like that, or she has durian fruit in the car. They thought it was her clothes or something. Oh, we smelled musty odors, and she didn't. She looked disheveled, and that means that she wasn't feeling well. Whereas, like, she would be going to the guy's house to feel better, right? Where the guy can comfort her or something. It's gone to the point where it's becoming a questionable issue where a third party out there would try to think they're doing the right thing when it's like the complete worst thing that they could possibly be, you know. And they actually, I believe that they are actually doing that, possibly. So they should really, and you know, let me tell you, they should interrogate that third party who behaves that way. It's very unusual because there's a exchange of, you know, trust sometimes between two people. It's kind of like, okay, here, it's like an authentication scheme of, you know, someone logging into their private account, their username and password, and then what do you think would happen if someone, a third party, interferes with that exchange of trust? It's hacking. And even if a court system tries to, you know, reverse engineer and get access to someone's account credentials, like their username and password, before, let's say, there's been times where it's been requested to hand over a username and password, and with, let's say, 128-bit encryption using Blowfish or something, is like a, let's say it was an encrypted hard drive. There's been times in the court systems where they were not legally able to circumvent that without literally getting the actual plain text username and password credentials from the person who was being investigated. Whereas if they didn't hand it over, it was actually okay for them not to opt in with that. That doesn't make them guilty, but the court system was not allowed to actually hack or circumvent or extract those credentials beyond the surface layer of asking the person to hand over the plain text username and password information, because it would be considered hacking then. You see what I'm saying? That's like where that's the same thing. That's all I'm saying. It's even worse. This is worse. This is, I should be like as if we were 17 years old again. Over the phone, I should be like, hey, don't even worry about, like, if you look like you just rolled out of bed, I don't care. Just come right over. Not have to worry about, but even spending a morsel of my concern or consciousness of her safely coming over to my place without someone out there being creepy. You see what I'm saying?